Okay, let's open up the webinar. In the Power Tools is where you'll find everything. You'll find your letter libraries. This is where all of your email templates are. You'll find your HTML5 video hosting. And you'll also find your automated webinar setup. So in the Power Tools, we will click Automated Webinar. I already have one set up for the purpose of showing you the emails, and I'll click Edit to open it. I'll skip on over to the Notifications. In the Notifications tab, you'll see Events. When someone registers for your webinar, the system will send them an automatic welcome email with the webinar information in it. And then 30 minutes before the webinar starts, the system will also send them a reminder. And then when the webinar starts, the system will send them a reminder that the webinar has started, and they need to click the link to come join now. Then the system will send them a reminder that the webinar has started, and they need to click the link to come join now. Then there are post-webinar emails. That means once your webinar has finished, the system can send out emails based on your registrant's behavior. For example, here's one where the registrants who registered for the webinar, but they missed it. They didn't show up. The system can send an email. In this scenario, the registrants who attended the webinar, but they missed your offer. You can program buttons to come in below the video that's playing and give your registrants an opportunity to click on a button, which is your offer. If they attended your webinar but didn't stay on long enough to see your offer, the system can send them an email. And then registrants who attended the webinar and saw your offer but they didn't click the link and go purchase your offer, the system can send them an email as well. I'm going to show you where to find all of these emails so that you can edit them. Okay? I'm going to go home on the dashboard, and we're going to open the letter library. We'll click Next. On the left menu, you'll see a category under Shared Categories that says Webinar. Click it, and here is where you can find all of the system emails. Let's take a look at one. Okay. This is the system email. This is the welcome email. When they register for your event, the system will send them a welcome email. It will write their name in. We just put Joe Smith in this preview just to let you know that the system is capable of writing in the name of the person who registered. These merge codes will write in the title, the topic, will also write in the presenter or presenters, the date and time of the webinar, and the webinar description. This is information that you will put into your webinar as you set it up, and the system will just pull this information from your setup and send it to the recipient. So these are all of the system emails. If you intend to set up only one webinar, then you can just simply customize these letters and make them your own. However, if you intend on setting up more than one webinar, then you should make copies of these emails and place them in their own category so that you can easily find them when it's time to select them in your webinar setup. And I'll show you how to do that. Let's go to Edit Categories. Let's take a look at our webinar name. Okay, the name of this webinar is Webinar 01, so I'm going to copy it. Let's create a category named Webinar 01. Okay, and we can close this down, go back to our letter library and refresh. Okay, this is our new category. Let's go back to our webinar category, and all we're going to do is select all of the letters, and we're going to make a copy of them, and we'll click Copy. Okay, here are all of the copied emails. I'm going to select them all and then unselect them so that the system will unselect everything. Okay, now I've selected all of the copied emails. I'm going to move them now to my newsletter category. So we'll click Move to Category, drop the menu down and choose Webinar 01, then click the Assign button. Okay. Now we'll click our Webinar 01 category. These are all of the copied letters. It's very easy to edit the names. You can just click the Edit link, bring it up, and edit it on every single one of them. Okay? Let's take a quick look at the Anytime reminder. Okay, you can see where the reminder says their name. Your webinar starts at, and it gives the time. And then it has the basic information down below, including the webinar description. And they can simply click the link and join the webinar. Let's take a look at the next one. Let's take a look at the Reminder Now. Okay, here's the Reminder Now email. When your webinar starts, the system will send your contact the email that says their name, your webinar is starting now. And they can click the Join the Webinar link and join the webinar. Here's an email for Missed the Webinar. It says their name, reschedule your seat to attend the webinar. It gives the title of the webinar, the topic, the presenters again, and then has some simple text, and then they can click the link to reschedule their webinar. Okay? And these letters are very easy to edit. Just click the Edit link. Change the name. Click Next. Okay. Then click Next. Then click Save and Close. Okay. Very simple. You can just navigate your way down through here and change the name of these emails. And then you're ready to go. Then when you get to the notifications, it will be very easy for you to select your emails. On the letter category, you can drop the menu down and choose Webinar 01, and then you can select your email. Very simple. Okay? So this will prepare you so that once you start your setup process, you won't have to get out of your setup process to do anything. You'll have already created your emails and are ready to go once you start. Okay? And again, if you intend to create only one webinar, there's no need to make all of these copies. You can just simply leave them as they are and create your webinar.
Now, you do not need to make a copy for every webinar that you create, because all of these emails can be used in every webinar. Let's take a look at the welcome letter. You see, the system will write in their name, and these merge codes will write in all the information that you used to set up your webinar. Let's say you created 3 or 4 webinars. The only reason you would want to make a copy of emails and then change the content for each webinar that you create is for your post letters, letters that go out after the webinar. For example, left before seeing your offer. You may want to change this information up. Let's take a look at it. The system writes in all of the information. Maybe you want to change this text in this email. You can do that. Make a copy of it, edit that copy, and use that copied email in that webinar that you've changed it for. Let's take a look at another letter. These are people that saw your offer but didn't purchase. Let's take a look at it. In this one, you're going to want to place the link to your offer here. So you would need to edit this email. And then later, if you created another webinar with a different offer, you'd want to make a copy of this and then put the link to that offer in this particular email. Understand? So when you make copies of emails for a different webinar, there's no need to make copies of all of the emails. You only need to make copies of emails that will have unique content to that particular webinar. Make sense? Okay. I probably said just enough to confuse you. So just remember, with your welcome email, your reminder anytime email, the reminder now email, if you make more than one webinar, there's no reason to make copies of these emails and use them for a different webinar. because the merge codes in them will work for every webinar. The only reason you would want to make a copy of an email and change the content is if you had specific content related to that particular webinar that you're creating. Like the one we just saw the offer but didn't purchase. You would want to make a copy of that email and put the link to that offer here. Okay? Very good. But since we're creating your first webinar, these are the emails you'll use for your first webinar. And you're going to want to edit the content for any emails you use for your post-webinar emails. Left before seeing your offer, saw your offer but didn't purchase. Okay, let's go back to our webinar setup. Whatever emails you select here, you can find here in the webinar category, and you can modify the content that's appropriate to your webinar. Okay? Very good. Let's go to the next step, uploading your video.